All right, now we welcome our next guest to Johnny on the Track. His name is Drew Brenner. He's the tire specialist for the number 17 NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car for Stenhouse Junior Racing, driven by Sheldon Haudenschild, and that is part of the World of Outlaws Dirt Tour. And we are very happy to have him on. So thank you so much, Drew, for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to, like I said, we were talking before the podcast started. And again, I'm not good with dirt. I've let the fans know, I've let the viewers know. So by having you on, I think it's really going to open my eyes to this, this industry. I got a buddy, right? So we grew up together, and he's originally from Illinois. So he started being a huge dirt fan. And then he moves to my hometown, Narragansett, Rhode Island, we spent 15 years together, middle school, high school. And he always said, like, dude, you're a NASCAR fan. You got to go out west with me and see a dirt race, dude. I'm telling you. I'm like, dude, I will, but like, it's hard to get over there.
Yeah.
So he's been busting my chops for, as long as I can remember. Now he's full time in Nashville. So when I visit him, he's going to take me down to the dirt track.
That would be cool. Yeah, you definitely need to get to a dirt track because it gives you a whole different perspective of racing.
I'm sure.
From asphalt. Yeah, it's a different breed. It'll open your eyes to a whole nother world of racing. That's for sure.
So let's start with that then. So give me like a 30 to 45-second pitch of what I'm missing out on.
Well, on dirt, I mean, for like us, for World of Outlaw sprint cars, we're open wheel. So really there's no fender banging. If you're banging wheels going 120 miles an hour, you're more than likely going to, start a big flip.
Right.
But it's slide jobs. It's throwing dirt, mud. It's fast pace. So we're called sprint cars because there's it's series of short races. Our main features are anywhere between 25 and 35 to 40 laps. And it's just a fast pace, high energy, got to get to it now type of deal.
Right.
And there's a lot of finesse that goes into sprint car racing. You got to run the bottom, the top, slide jobs through the middle. There's a lot that, that's just the driving aspect of it. And that's not even setting a car up at that point.
So I'll tell you this. So I'm a huge fan of the Wheel and Modified Tour, which is, again, big in up in New England in my area. And I agree with you. One of the things I love about it is that it has that fast pace. And, you don't have to sit through stage 1 and stage 2, which I feel like most NASCAR fans, especially myself, sitting through stage 1 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway isn't always the best part of the race.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I think having that fast paced short races keep you entertained, and I'm sure that makes it a lot closer right down to the stretch, which is always good. So I like that. That's a good pitch. I think you got me hooked.
Good deal, yeah. Because I mean, from the start of the race, I mean, you got to be on your A game. What I feel like is different from like NASCAR, you can fall way behind, but then, through the course of the race, you can work your way back up. But
right.
I mean, if you fall behind in a sprint car race, I mean, it's very, very difficult to get back to the front, if something happens or, you're just off the pace or something like that. So got to be on your A game from start to finish.
So I want to talk about that. So in the pit style in the World of Outlaws, and again, we talked about this before that I wanted to address this with you. So correct me if I'm wrong. There's like a mandatory like gas or pit stop like 3/4 of the way, halfway through. Is that correct, or am I off there?
No, so let's say we're at a half-mile track.
Yep.
And they have a lap window to where it's, let's say, 75 laps, 80 laps, and then the cars are going to be out of fuel. So whether it's from the time that they push off, from when we push them on the track for the feature, when they start doing laps, just under caution, those are clicking laps. And, that's from there until the race is over. So there's no mandatory fuel stop. Now, if we're getting to the end of that fuel lap limit, and there's like a red flag, and let's say there's 10 laps to go in the race, there'll be an open red, which is where they'll push the cars to like the front stretch or where the closest area to the pits are. And the crews then will have, 8 minutes to run out on the track and check your tire pressures, fill your car up with fuel, and that. So there's no mandatory stops unless that fuel window gets close enough or to the max. And then, cars are going to start running out of fuel. And, the officials they're on top of it. So they calculate how many laps it's going to take until these cars are out of fuel. So they're on top of it. And, they make sure that all the cars are, going to make it the length of the race.
And what about, so you're obviously the tire guys. So what about the tires? Can they last the full stretch on like the tires they started with?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you do have your given races where, track prep, or not even just track prep, the track can go away so fast. So last year at Houston Speedway, there in South Dakota, it was probably 10 laps into the race where we started laying rubber. And by that, I mean, the track gets so hard and it blackens. And as the cars are rolling around there, there's white smoke rolling off their tires. And that's just from, the track being so hard, it turns basically like concrete. And there was all but one car during that race of the 24 that started that didn't blow a tire. And we were one of the first ones to blow a tire. And, we pulled, caution came out, we pulled in, changed the right rear. And that was, I think there was 12 laps to go. And we made it back to the front because other cars were blowing tires and they were going to the back. So luckily we were the first ones to blow a tire, and, we put a new one on and we got back to the front, and we ended up winning that race. Actually, Kyle Larson blew his right rear with just a few laps to go. And that's when we gained the lead back and took that race. So typically the tires will last, some blister, depending on where you're at, how hard your driver's running. But typically for the most part, pretty much all the tires last the duration of the race.
Okay. So that's interesting then, when obviously something like that happens and you and the crew have to make those adjustments. And then, so did that race, did you know, like, all right, well, maybe it's not the worst thing we blew this tire, because I think this is going to happen to everybody else?
Well, when we initially blew it, I was just like, oh man, like this cannot
Right.
be good. And then as, 2 more laps go on, you have 3 other guys blowing their right rears. And then you're like, okay, well, now they're starting to, fall out of the sky, like, whatever. And it was just one after another. And I think it was like 5 or 6 restarts with 6 laps to go where we couldn't get a full lap in because guys were blowing their right rears. And, that set us up, for good position because it was the guys in front of us that were blowing their right rears, which gave us that track position. So blowing our tire early in the race, it was like, oh no, like this isn't good. And then as they, started blowing, it's like, okay, well, it was good that we blew our tire first.
So you mentioned Kyle Larson, and obviously you got a chance to watch him last season. Just, he obviously, what happens, and then he decides, well, I need to somehow stay in a race car to stay fresh. So he decides, okay, let me do World of Outlaws. And I mean, he just lit it up, really. What was it like watching? And obviously, your team is talented, but what was it like watching a talent like Kyle Larson step behind the wheel and just dominate really all season?
Yeah, I mean, it was, as a competitor, obviously, I don't want him to win. I want to win. I want to win every night. But that's not the way life goes. And I take a step back and I recognize the talent that he has and the success that he was having, and you grow an appreciation for that. To do what he did, and we race with the best of the best every single night. And when he can come in when he does, and and he's at the top of his game, that's something you recognize and appreciate. I think he's the most talented driver that has ever raced, in my opinion.
I do not. That's not a hot take. That is not a hot take whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, he won 40 some races out of the 90 that he raced last year, which is unbelievable.
Right.
The first time he stepped into a dirt late model, he went out and won. Like, people just don't do that. And, he's a talent that we may never see again. And, I think people, whether you like the dude or not, I mean, you still have to have that appreciation for, his talent and the way he can drive a race car, not just sprint cars or, dirt midgets or dirt late models, now into NASCAR. I mean, just Sunday, he dominated the whole race.
He did.
And then, the last lap or 2 laps, he got he got a run for his money. And, but he was there at the end. And it was just cool to see, last year, his talent. And, I felt like he had a chip on his shoulder and he was determined to do something. And by golly, he went out and did it.
I totally agree with you that, put aside his actions and put aside what you might think of him, that perceived thought. The talent, you just have to sit back and appreciate it. I mean, he goes out, like you said, and just lights up a very good series with so many. I mean, the World of Outlaws has ridiculous talent, up, down.
Absolutely.
It's a very talented league. And so for him to have a dominance there, and then people all off season are saying, well, maybe that was just a fluke. We know he's talented, but he really hasn't shown it in NASCAR and shown it consistency. Well, people, have you watched the last 3 weeks?
I'm kidding.
He's just going to step in a car and dominate. And for me, I agree with you. It's just fun to watch. It's just fun to appreciate that when you find someone like that, you just sit back and say, that kid can do what a lot of us can't.
Right. Exactly. And he was out of a NASCAR for a year, and he comes back and he's right back at it. He's dominating back. He's racing against the best asphalt drivers in the world.
Yep.
And he's right back on top. And it just goes to show what kind of talent he has.
Right. Absolutely. So I want to get into you and how you got to this spot. So early on, I read that, your father took you to the racetrack quite a bit, right? And you kind of developed this love for the sport of racing. But at the same time, I mean, you were into football, you were into basketball. Those were kind of your things. Growing up, how did you balance, okay, well, these are what I'm really good at, but I also have this love for a totally different sport. How did you balance all that?
Well, growing up, my whole family is an athletic family. So, it starts from my oldest brother all the way down to myself and my younger stepbrother. And we've always, been into, football, basketball. I ran track. My sisters, cheerleading, volleyball. My sister played at Clemson University in volleyball. My brother played at Ohio State. My other brother played at Indiana. My other brother played at the same college I played at Ashland University. So, I mean, we've all had that side of life, but we also had the racing side as well. But that stems from my father. He raced at Barberton Speedway, which is a little track in Barberton, Ohio. It's a little asphalt track, and he raced like stock cars.
Yeah.
Him and his cousin. And, so he's always had that love. And then growing up, he's always taken us to, the dirt track. And we've always had that love for, dirt track racing, sprint cars. And I don't know, I just grew up as a fan. As I was real young, like before middle school, I rode dirt bikes and 4-wheelers, and, we had a circle track out back, and, I'd go out there and act like I was a racer on the 4-wheeler or on the go-kart. And then once I got into middle school, I kind of took a step of how serious I was about playing sports. And then when I got to high school, I recognized the talent that I had and the potential that I had. And that's when I kind of got off the dirt bikes, got off the 4-wheelers, and focused on that. But I always still went to the races. And over the, Wayne County Speedway, which is in Orrville, Ohio, my hometown, we'd go out a lot of the Saturdays over the summer, and we'd go watch the races. or we'd go out to Eldora Speedway.
Yep.
Our dad would take
Oh,
us
yeah.
out there, and it was just a love for the racing, all the way up until I met Sheldon and Ripper, our driver and crew chief, and then it went from being a fan to hanging out with them, and then gained a relationship with them, and then it just kind of went from going to the race, scraping mud off Sheldon's car. I didn't know a lick about sprint cars, and then that just kind of had the spiral effect of hanging around more, learning more, and then being part-time guy to help them on Sheldon's crew. And then as soon as I graduated college, it was full-time on the World of Outlaws tour.
So let me ask you this, because obviously you played football at a D2 level in college, and I will share, I played, did play until my senior season got canceled. Soccer at Emerson College currently, D3 level. So I know the grind that, has to be put in of being a college athlete, but I want to take it back a little, middle school, high school. So, for me, I had this love of racing growing up, but I was playing like you, baseball. I was playing flag football, basketball, soccer, sports where the fans, I would say, don't really translate, wouldn't translate. So it was like, I'm like, yeah, I'm watching the race. So like, why are you watching a race? Like, dude, like NFL's on or this or that. And again, I'm a diehard basketball NFL fan, but I don't know how to like put this question, but were your friends accepting of, this love you had, or were they kind of like, dude, you like racing? Oh, come on, man. Like, that's not a sport. They just go around. Like, what was that?
No, actually, pretty much all my buddies that I hung around with, they liked racing too, and we'd spend weekends out at the racetrack, and like the first night that I met Sheldon and Ripper, they invited me back to Sheldon's shop, and I had a group of buddies with me, and they all came with me for the first time that we went out there. And
that's awesome.
The group that I was around, they all enjoyed and appreciated, sprint car racing. And, we'd have our hangouts at, the racetrack on Saturday nights, or, whatever it may be. So they were just like me, sports guys in high school. And then, they loved racing too.
That's awesome, man. And good for you that you had that. Like I said, I had one friend who, like me, was a diehard NASCAR fan, but I learned, growing up, to appreciate what I love. And, the people will obviously follow and support and all that. But yeah, I mean, look, growing up, like it was, dude, come on, don't watch the race. Like, do this. What are you going to do? So I want to also touch on the football career here. So was there ever a point that you said, and so I actually asked, this is an interesting link here. So do you know by any chance, you might not, Jeff Kerr?
Jeff Kerr.
So he was like a lead crew guy for Hendrick. He worked for JTG, for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, and he was, one of the lead pit guys. And then he actually taught the people that would come on pit. So I had him on, and funny enough, he actually also played football in college. And I know that's how a lot of like the pits, it takes an athlete to do, to be in the pits.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So at any point, did you ever consider like a career in football, or was it more of, I'm just doing this? So like me, I was playing soccer because I love it, and it kept me in shape. Was there any, thought of, I'm going to try to get to the league, or no?
Yeah, I mean, that was always in the back of my head. Going through college, as time went on, that kind of grew away from me.
Yeah.
I still had the dream of doing it. But later in my college career, battling injuries and, going through those, tough times, trying to stay on the field, that kind of made me realize that that's probably not what's going to happen. So I shifted my gear from that to what I was studying. business, and I was going to go into the financial world. And the December before I graduated, so it would have been December 2016, after I'd helped Sheldon out for a couple of years just part-time. Sheldon asked me if I wanted to go out on the road in 2017, and I had to sit there and think about it for a minute. Like, this is a whole different gear change from the business world to going to be a crew member on a sprint car team. And after a week of thought, I was like, yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of how that transitioned, from wanting to pursue a football career to that changing into the business world, then into sprint car racing. So it just kind of caught me off guard, but it was, at the end of the day, it was the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Blessing in disguise, right? I mean,
absolutely.
It fell right. You got to cross the two things you love, and you start being an athlete and know that grind that it takes, which obviously you can translate to what you're doing now, obviously. And then to just have the opportunity to do something like you said, growing up, you love racing, being a part of that all. I mean, that's awesome, man. That's really cool.
Absolutely. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So I want to, again, obviously we talked about the actual racing aspect of dirt, but if you could give me one of the biggest differences you see between the dirt side of it, the racing aspect of the dirt side of it, towards the asphalt side of it, give me one. Give me, like, what's the biggest difference you think, there is? Could be. Hey, give me a couple if there's more.
Well, you have track surface. Obviously, that's complete game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Then also you have grassroots, I'd say. To get to NASCAR, you need to race a whole lot more than just NASCAR itself. Because with dirt racing, like, you can race midgets, non-wing sprints, late models, modifieds. And even if you wanted to jump straight into sprint cars, you could, buy an engine, buy a car, put it together, go out to a local show and race. Versus, NASCAR, you just can't build a car, put it out on the NASCAR track and go race. That's a big difference. So I'd say probably grassroots racing. Even though we're a professional race series with the World of Outlaw sprint cars, it's still an opportunity for someone to go out and prove themselves. And that's how a lot of guys got their careers started. Take my boss, for example, Ricky Stenhouse. He started, dirt racing. He grew up, racing sprint cars, and then, that evolved into NASCAR. Kyle Larson. Obviously these guys start with go-karts, but then they get into dirt racing, and, there's Christopher Bell. There's so many other different guys that are in NASCAR that started on dirt because that was their opportunity and their place to show. So it all goes back to, the grassroots racing. And, that's the biggest difference from the NASCAR on asphalt and sprint cars on dirt, in my opinion.
I'll say this. This is the perfect segue, because you mentioned Ricky Stenhouse, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, who are all going to be racing in something that, dude, I am so excited for this.
I'm amped.
Dude, every time I think of it, I'm just like, dude, when is it freaking Sunday? Because this is going to be so freaking cool. So, like we said, we've got Kyle Larson, we've got Christopher Bell, we've got Ricky, we've got Austin Dillon, who can perform on dirt, just won, his heat at Bristol Dirt Nationals. We've got, like, guys who probably haven't raced dirt in quite some time, and Kevin Harvick, and again, Ryan Newman's another one who has had success on dirt. This is
Jeff Gordon,
it's Tony Stewart. Yeah, just name them all. So, again, what do you expect on Sunday? Just tell me, what are your expectations?
I've thought about this, and I expect it to be a great race, but I also expect the guys who come from dirt racing to be more up front than what the asphalt guys have been more up front, in late. I could be completely wrong, but I have expectations that, I want to see Ricky up front. I want to see Larson up front. I want to see Bell up front. Those guys, because I know those guys personally too.
Yeah.
So it's,
yeah.
So I have, that extra confidence in them. But I expect it to be a great race, and I think they're going to be duking it out. I think there's going to be a lot of banging bumpers going off the wall. I hope these guys can keep the wheels under them.
Yeah.
But it's going to be an awesome race, and I'm excited. And then, just in a few weeks, about actually a month away, we're going to be racing at Bristol. So, I mean, it's starting to come to real life that there's dirt on Bristol, and, I'm pumped for this weekend to watch those NASCAR guys get out there for sure.
Dude, I'm so excited. I mean, I don't even know. I can't even mention it anymore. I'm just kidding. But so let's put, obviously you said your boss is Ricky Stenhouse, which I knew coming into this, but put him off to the side and we'll cover this part up. But who do you think besides him if you had to pick a winner, who?
Larson?
Yeah. All right.
I mean, just last weekend he went out on Bristol and a late model and went out and won. I mean,
yeah.
That's.
I agree.
I mean, they got fenders on those cars and they got fenders on NASCAR, so I don't see much difference. And just the way that he's been performing at the high talent that he is, I would say he's at the top of the, one of the tops at the list. Obviously I'm no doubt in my mind, I'm pulling for Ricky. I believe in him, and he's got a lot of talent himself. Just this weekend, he hopped in a sprint car in Alabama and went out and won. So Ricky's got a lot of talent too. So I think I'm pulling for Ricky, but if it's not Ricky, I think it's going to be Larson. But I guess we'll see.
Dude, I think if you're like a betting man, there's like somewhat of a formula, like, all right, well, let's put 20 on Bell, let's put 50 on Larson, let's put like 20 on Stenhouse, let's put a little bit on Austin Dillon, like,
yeah,
you might hit on one of them. I think there's guys that, I mean, and again, the parity this season has been awesome as a fan to see Larson go out, to see Bell go out and win. Obviously Byron and Michael McDowell, all guys that, they're talented, but you don't expect that going in to see like a guy like that come out and have a good race and win. But I think this is going to add to what has been just a season full of surprises. And again, that's why I think for NASCAR fans, for people who I know, there's a population that don't watch NASCAR. They just watch, like you said, grassroots racing. This is going to attract their attention. So I think by them doing this, and even the trucks is going to put on a great show, which I'm excited for. Because if I'm correct, I think they took out Eldora just to go here. So both those series are going to have a great show, and I'm super excited, as you are, to watch this. So I got one more thing for you, man. So I don't know if I told you this, but every guest I have on, I always play a game with them at the end. And so this game, we debuted it with Jeff Kerr, the other pit guy I've been with, and it's called Can You Pit It? So how it works is I got a presentation up, and I'm going to ask you, can this person be in the pits? And so that you got to orient this towards dirt racing now, because the first time it was NASCAR. So now you got to orient it, can they pit? Can they do it? And so it's all fictional characters. You got to tell me yes, no, and you got to tell me why. All right.
Okay.
All right. So let me get it up. All right. Hold on. Give me a sec. Should have had this up, but trying to flip back and forth through these things. Okay. Can you pit it? Part 2. Here it is. Present mode. Hold on. All right. Let me share my screen here. Can you see that?
Hold All right, I got you now.
There it is. All right.
Can you pit? Here we go.
All right. Perfect. All right. So, first person, can they pit it? Shaq.
Yeah, I think he could change a right rear or left rear, getting down and dirty with a front end swap or a front wing swap. But I don't know about that, but a right rear, yeah.
All right. I agree. I mean, look, he's built for it. I mean,
he is. He's a big boy.
That's right. So I would agree. I would say yes, both ways that Shaq can pit it. Patrick Starr, a classic. What do you think?
No.
I agree. I think he's too I mean, look at the image here. I mean, he's going to put the right rear tire on the front left side, or something like that. I agree. I do not think that Patrick Starr can pit it. So we're 1 for 2. We'll keep this moving here. JOTT, he's got a lot to offer here.
He's got brains, but does he have the strength and the mobility to be quick and agile and get it? I'd say no.
I don't know. I mean, he can use the force. So, he's got the mind. He's feeble, but maybe he gets a little bit of the hand motion going, tires right on. It's quicker than everybody else. I don't know, but I mean, you're the expert here, so we're going to say no to JOTT. Hermione Granger, similar. She's got the magic aspect of it, but, I don't know. Does she have what it takes?
There's another girl out on the road that's got what it takes. So I'd say yeah.
All right. Okay, good. So
I'll give it to her.
All right. Hermione Granger can pit it. So we're 50% here. The mouse can't pit it. Come on, right?
I'd give it to Mickey. I think he could do it.
Really? Well, explain.
Okay. Have you ever seen like a front end change? So we can change front ends in under 2 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, we can change a lot of components of the race car in under 2 minutes, if they crash or something. And he's small. He could be quick if he wanted to. Maybe doesn't have the strength, but I bet you he could run some bolts into the car. And that's why I say, yeah, I think he could run a gun.
All right. Hey, fair enough. I came in thinking the mouse would get the no, but good for Mickey Mouse. I mean, clearly Disney's had a tough year, COVID. But I mean, if Mickey needs a second job, he can change a tire.
Yeah.
All right. One more here. Sonic the Hedgehog. Again, for me, this is an easy yes, right?
Easy yes.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, this is the easy yes.
If I'm gonna compare myself to any of those, it'd be a little bit of Shaq and definitely him.
All right, there it is. A little bit of Sonic and a little bit of Shaq, and that's Drew Brenner in the pits for you. What do you think of that? You like that one?
That was a good one.
All right, good. I'm glad. We'll keep it up. I'm trying to do, like I said, I'm trying to do a game to make it a little more fun because, anybody can get you on a podcast and ask you this and that and the cliche questions. But I think if we can, get a little creative with what you guys do. And, like I said, I admire anybody in the motorsports industry and what they do, and to just get creative with it and share what I'm good at, which is, creating this content and such. I think it's the best of both worlds,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was creative. That was something I've never done before, it was cool.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I appreciate you for coming on. Thank you so much. Obviously taking time out of your day, and I'm glad we got this together. I've tried, man, dude, I was trying to find someone to talk dirt with me. And so thank you again for coming on. And like you, I'm super excited for Sunday. And we'll be pulling for Ricky. We'll be pulling for Kyle, these guys, these grassroots guys. So, yeah, man, thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool. All right. We'll talk to you again. This was Johnny on the Track with Drew Brenner. Again, Drew, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
See ya.